Hello, welcome to today's live market meet. Are you able to see my screen and hear me? You may use the YouTube live chat feature to let me know. Okay, let us begin. Welcome to today's live market meeting, 14th April 2020. I am Sagar Nandi. I used to work in IT, mostly based in Singapore. I retired several years ago. I am now living in Thailand, doing trading stocks using the queue systems and techniques that I developed myself. You may watch these and other videos on my YouTube channel Trading Profitably and contact me using my email ID tradingprofitably@gmail.com. I regularly share stock analysis using the live market on my traders forum sagarnandi.com and also on my Twitter handle sagarnandi. All these resources are open to the public and you are most welcome to make use of them. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. It is designed to share information on the trading systems and techniques I use. The information presented here should only be used by people who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Past performance is no guarantee of future return. I am not an investment advisor. This session is not for any recommendation of buying or selling stock or any other instrument. I will have no liability for any investment decision made by the audience. This is a live market analysis session. I will explain how to look for trading opportunities using technical trading system. I will use Q Elite on TradeStation and Q Global on MetaStock. I may also use Q Finder, a tool that works in conjunction with Q Global. Other than technical trading system, I will look at sector industry rotation analysis using Q Edge, stock fundamental and peer analysis using Q Vital. Both of these systems work on Metastock Zenith. I may also look at some of the indices if we have time or if that is appropriate during our conversation. I may use Q index to look at some of the indices. That was the last slide of my presentation. As you know, I am not a big fan of PowerPoint. I'll continue with live system now. Let me explain the exact steps that I carry out at around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The USA market closes at 4 p.m. So I give myself no more than 30 minutes to look for a trade setup. And if I don't find a trade setup, that is fine. I have done my homework. I close my computer and I go back to whatever else I want to do with my life. Suppose this is now 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. First thing that I do is I go to MetaStock, that is running Q Global, go to Explore and run these two explorers, Q Finder Signal Long that looks for different possible long trade setups and also Q Finder Signal Short that looks for different possible short setups. If you watch my weekly market roundup videos, then you know I sometimes have a market outlook, and if my outlook is bullish, I may run only the Q finder for signal long. If my market outlook is bearish, I may run only the finder for signal short. My current market outlook is neutral, that is, I am free to take trades in either direction. Therefore, if I am running the finder today, I will run both of them. Some traders are more comfortable taking only trend following trade. If you are one of them, then instead of running the compound scans, you may simply run long go with flow for bullish trades and short go with flow for bearish trades with the trend following trade setup. And if you are comfortable taking only reversal trades, which may be unlikely, then you may run only the headwind trade setup for long and short, so on and so forth. If you are using Q systems, I suggest that you run both of them like I do, or if your market outlook is bullish, run only the long finder. If outlook is bearish, run only the short finder. Next step is to look for your symbol list. I like to trade only liquid stocks, and because I also look at fundamental analysis, I like to look at stocks that has significant data, say 5 years of data. I have created a symbol list for that, and I have also provided the symbol list, this 1242 symbols, in the latest Q Vital under the Universe tab. You can see this liquid stocks USA has 1242 stocks. This is the same symbol list that I have in MetaStock. I may update it from time to time. So if it is 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I come here, I select these two compound scans, I select my symbol list. I am going to run it on daily time frame. I'm using exchange date time, that is using real-time data. Use the selected instruments for both explorations and run it. And it is going to take about 5 minutes to go through all the possible trade setups both in long direction and short direction on this 1000 plus symbol list. So I have time while it is running. While it is running, what I do, I am going to go to Q edge. I tend to say that the fastest way to find the Q 360 degrees trade setups is using the Insight tab. The Insight tab is available in Q edge, that is trying to look for the best performing and worst performing stocks under various categories. And my favorite categories are this best performing growth stocks list and the best performing undervalued stocks list. Some people are more fond of buying value stocks. They may simply look for trades from this list. Some people are fond of growth stocks. They may use this list instead. I am comfortable taking both. So now it is about 9:32 p.m., right? Because we took 2 minutes to start the Explorer, the Q scan, compound scans on Metastock. We spent maybe 1 or 2 minutes on that. Then I came back here. I am going to click the fully charged battery icon. What it is doing now, it is going through all the 1500 S&P 1500 stocks and finding the best performing value stocks. It has found that. Now I'm going to look for a technical setup in them. I already know they are undervalued, so they are fundamentally strong. So I'm going to take these symbol lists to the technical trading system, which could be Q Elite on TradeStation or Q Global on Metastock. Now, while I am doing that, why don't I click this icon to start my calculation on best performing growth stocks? It will take 60 seconds, not a big deal, but no harm. I'm going to copy the ticker symbols from best performing undervalued stocks. I pressed Ctrl C. I start the calculation on best performing growth stocks. Now I go to TradeStation. I have my at a glance template with weekly on the left, daily on the right, backdrop template on the left, entry template on the right, and I have the radar here. So I'm going to press Ctrl V, and apparently I didn't copy it properly. Let me copy it properly. I press Ctrl V, the list is here. I'm going to now scroll through this list of 10 symbols, and you will see how fast I can make a decision. I am doing everything in real time. I didn't go through the stocks earlier. And if there is a trade setup, I'll stop. So this seems to give me a trade setup. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the insert key to make a space between this symbol and the remaining symbols, and let me continue with the other symbols. No trade setup. I'm going to delete this RCL, and you can see I need only 1 second or 2 seconds, usually 1 second or less, to decide. And if I don't find a trade setup, I delete the symbol. If I hesitate on a symbol like in ETRN, let me keep it in store. I'll come back to ETRN later. Though there is no Q trade setup as such in ETRN, that may be a valid trade as well. Vivo, no. SGMS, no. CPRI, CPRI, yes. Okay, let me continue. CYH, no. G3, no. Okay, so I am left with 3 symbols from the list of undervalued stocks. Now, before drilling down further into their industries, let me do the same with the best performing growth stocks. Again, I am going to paste the 10 symbols here, go through them one by one. And if I don't find a trade setup and an optimal entry point, I'm going to delete them. The stock may be bullish, but I tend to say if there is no optimal entry point, I am not interested in that. Let me keep THC for now. I'll come back to that later. Boot, no. PCRX. What I am doing is I am applying the checklist for the Q trade setups in my mind. This one, yes. In fact, I mentioned about now in a forum post a while ago. CCMP. Let me delete it. Adobe, yes, of course, because I posted about it in the forum. I bought Adobe today. I bought now also today. Guess, no. Chef, no. Paycom, no. So I am left with 5 stocks that I want to investigate further. Probably I spend about 3 to 4 minutes. If I was not talking to you on the webinar, 3 to 4 minutes. 1 minute I spent on running the MetaStock Explorer, and then 3 to 4 minutes to go through this list of 20 stocks, 10 high growth stocks, 10 undervalued stocks. Remember, I ran the MetaStock Explorer, and by now the MetaStock Explorer, the 2 compound explorers, have done going through all these thousands of stocks. Most of the days I am not going to open the data at all, but because I ran it for the sake of this webinar, let me transfer the data to QFinder. I copied the data from the long scan, put it using the smart download. Then I am going back to the Explorer, select the short Explorer, coming to the table here, which doesn't make much sense when you look at it, but I'm going to right click, copy all, come back to QFinder. I'm going to the short tab, smart download. I have the data. I may look at the summary. But as I mentioned, most of the days I am not even coming here. Why? Because in a day I am going to take maybe 1, maybe 2 swing trades, and the trades I take have to look at fundamentals. Probably I have found my trades already from this list of 5 stocks. So I don't want to spend time going through the QFinder data. Only when I don't have a trade here, then I want to look at Q Finder. Did I find a trade? I think Adobe was a valid trade, and I already shared the detail. Okay, let me not go through the forum post. Let me look at Adobe and explain the setup. The weekly is clearly bullish, backdrop color and the shape both are bullish. In the weekly, it bounced precisely from this memory support, and it bounced also from the daily memory support. Then it was going inside a triangle in the daily chart, and today it broke out. It had a gap up open and then closed even higher with a very bullish shape candle and bullish color candle as well. What trade setup did it give? It gave a breakout long trade setup. Breakout long trade setup that also had a gap up day. I already know that Adobe is fundamentally strong because it came from the best performing growth stocks. Now I may look at its industry. I am back to Q Edge, the Insight tab. I am going to click on the cog icon to check its industry strength today relative to the other industries. And instantly from the color coding, I can see that the industry strength is strong. If I want to do a detailed analysis of the fundamentals, then I could come back to Adobe and click on the peer analysis tool. But I don't need for trading. For the sake of this webinar, I may do it. But for trading, there are certain required conditions in Q technique. One is it has to be either high growth or undervalued. Both better, but I don't need both. And I already have one of the conditions met. I have already checked fundamentals. The moment it came in this list or this list, I already know it allows me to take a trade using Q technique. I have looked up its industry. It is already bullish. I know that. And technically, I have already found out that it has given a breakout long trade. So I am now switching to my brokerage account. I am placing my trade. But before that, I need to know how many shares I am going to buy. So I am going to my Q diary. Let's say, I don't know what is the parameter here. Let's say the account size is 100,000. It can be anything. It can be 10,000 also. Let me reduce it to 10,000. It could be 1 million, up to you. Assuming my account size is 10,000, I need to decide how many shares I can buy. That will be decided based on my entry price and stop price. What is my entry price? If I'm taking the trade just before market close, the closing price is 340.77. So let's say that is my entry price, 340.77. So 340.77 is my planned entry. I need to know my stop level to decide how many shares I can buy so that I can maintain the risk same across all my trades. What is my stop level? I come back to Q Elite on TradeStation and I use the hotkey Control Shift S if I'm using TradeStation 10, and that is telling the recent low is far away. If I use recent low as my stop, that is going to be very far away. So I am not going to do that. Luckily, in this case, there was a gap up move. It is not just a breakout setup, but it's a gap up day as well. If it is a gap up day, I can place the stop just below the gap up day's low, that is today's low. Today's low price is 328.47. Let's put stop at 328. Remember, if this was not a gap up day, then my logical stop would be below recent low. That is if you are using Q technique. And in that case, I would probably not consider a trade in this stock because stop is too far from closing price here. Too far if I didn't have a gap up day. But I did have, and I'm going to use the stop just below today's low, that is 328. So if I put 328 as my stop, immediately it tells the planned quantity is 7. So I am allowed to buy 7 shares. Reward risk ratio is blank. That will depend on planned target. Let me decide my planned target based on the entry template. So I'm using the hotkey Control Shift A, and it seems to me that this is likely to go, if it goes up, likely to go and hit either the upper boundary or the watermark resistance, and that will be, let's say, 378. So I put 378 as my target, and I get 2.92 as my reward risk ratio. In Q technique, I need at least 1 or about 1. Even if it is zero point 0.9, I am able to trade because I am aligning many forces with my trade, not only technical but also fundamental and also industry. That is how I am going to decide my trade and make sure my reward risk ratio is acceptable, and then go to the brokerage and place the trade. If I was not talking to you, I could do that in less than 5 minutes. So I have found my trade already today. And because I am not going to trade many stocks, what I do then usually, this is not part of my trading routine, but I am going to go to my Sagar Nandi's trade ideas forum category, and I am going to share my trading idea. And did I share Adobe today? Yes, I shared Adobe here, and let me highlight something. I put in the forum post today another snapshot of Adobe that I shared in Twitter. That was on 19th March. And this was the snapshot I put on Twitter at that time. In the weekly, it was bouncing from memory support, two of them. In the daily also, it regained above the two memory supports in daily. And in weekly, the jump indicator was at an extreme from which a recovery was likely. Keep this picture in mind, and let's go back to the live chart. You can see now I could identify Adobe as a buy setup somewhere on this day. Since then, price has gone up. In fact, when I shared the idea on Twitter, I took a position in Adobe that time also. And when it was going to the memory resistance line, I booked profit. And today I entered it again because it gave me a long breakout trade setup. Incidentally, when I took the trade, I don't remember this day long lower tail candle or the next day, I took it using back spread, and that ended with a good profit. And today I took the trade using stock. Using Q diary, I calculated my number of shares. So I already found another trade. I already found one trade, and I also bought now. Remember, now also came from inside category. Here, let me check its industry by clicking the cog icon on QH. And this is looking okay. It's not the best one. I can see the strength was better over 2 days and over 1 day, and 0 day is almost same as 1 day now because market is closed. The strength reduced a bit. When that happens, I am also going to check the actual percentage change for the industry, which is in QH also, and I can see that over 5 days percentage change is positive, quite large. Over 2 days large. Today it reduced little bit, but still it is significant, 2.7, almost 2.8% at the industry level. That is good enough. So that allows me to buy the stock industry wise. Insight already told me that it is a high growth stock. I don't need to carry out a detailed peer analysis. And if I look at now, doesn't it look very similar to Adobe? The weekly is strong in terms of shape and color. It also bounced up from the weekly memory support. Daily also bounced up from memory support, probably almost at the same time that Adobe also bounced up. It was inside a triangle pattern just like Adobe. Today it gapped up and it gave me a breakout long trade setup. So I found my second trade. I could close, I could of course carry out the sizing using Q diary, take the trade and I could close. But because I am in a webinar now, let me check if the other stocks also gave me a trade setup. MIK, I didn't take a new position in a stock today near market close other than in Now and Adobe. But let's check MIK. This also gave me a breakout trade setup. Let me check its industry. MIK, where did it come from? It came from the best performing undervalued stocks. And I could anticipate that seeing that the stock is at a very low price level in the weekly chart. Even in the weekly chart, it is at price extreme low. So even before I went to QH, I knew that it was likely, more likely to be an undervalued stock. And yes, indeed, it came from the undervalued stocks list. I need to check its industry. I'm clicking on the cog icon again. And this industry strength allows me to buy the stock. No harm to looking at the industry percentage change, 3.6% today, quite good. Therefore, I found another trade in MIK. Now, some people are more comfortable taking high growth stocks, buying high growth stocks. They may prefer Adobe and Now over MIK. That is perfectly all right. MIK also giving a trade setup, however, the weekly is certainly not as strong as Adobe and Now, because Adobe and Now both had weekly memory trend line support, which is not there in MIK. But then again, for undervalued stocks, the weekly charts are expected to be weaker than high growth stocks. Let me check ETRN. This one is not giving any Q trade setup. Why I kept it in the list that though it is not giving any Q trade setup, there are certain bullish signals. Firstly, the weekly is now bullish color, cyan color for 3 weeks. In daily, it had a series of bullish headwind signals. They come as circular dots in Q Elite, and since then price is going up. It consolidated in a very narrow sidewise range in this area, and today it broke out of that with not extreme high activity but high activity shown by the thick line in the activity or volume bar. There are traders who are comfortable taking trades where the stock started to go up, consolidated in a very narrow, this is very narrow sidewise range, and then broke out of that with a bullish flow candle. The daily also has a bullish backdrop candle color. That's why I stopped at it, and it could be taken as a trade. ETRN, why don't we check it? Check its industry. ETRN also came from best performing undervalued stocks, went up by more than 16% today, same as MIK. Let's check its industry. Communications equipment. It weakened relative to the 5-day score, therefore I need to check its percentage change. And percentage change is big enough today for the industry, 2.6%, and the stock itself went up by more than 16%. So I am allowed to buy it as an undervalued stock. I am left with CPRI. To me, this is looking better than MIK and ETRN because I am able to find a Q go with flow long trade setup. The weekly backdrop color is bullish, though we have to keep in mind that it is just beginning of the week. The week is not over yet, but so far it is looking good. Earlier, several weeks ago it gave me a bullish shape candle. At that time, weekly thrust, weekly jump were at extreme level. So from that point onwards, I am looking for the price to recover. It had a bullish shape candle, then the backdrop remained magenta, bearish for 2 more weeks, then it turned to neutral. That candle had an upper tail. This week started near the close of previous week, and as of today it has a bullish shape, bullish color. In the daily, it created a W pattern, that is a higher low. It has a memory trend line support. One day ago it gave me a yellow color candle, and today starting to go up again. So if I took it as a trend following go with flow long trade setup, my entry price will be today's close, and I am able to put stop just below the yellow candle's low. So my stop will be very narrow, and I could try to book profit in the region of the declining yellow direction line or the upper boundary. So this could also give me a long trade setup, and this is an undervalued stock. If I now eliminate and try to keep the base stocks, I may focus on CPRI or Now or Adobe. So I look at CPRI, this is the chart. I now go to Now and I go to Adobe. If you look at these three charts and you have to decide on only one, then of course people may vary in their conclusion, but I am pretty happy to buy either of Now or Adobe. Something tells me that I would prefer Now little bit more. That may be the long lower tail in the daily candle. However, both of them are equally good. Now suppose you wanted to buy only one of them, both the tech stocks. Technically, I am not able to decide, let's say. Both are equally good. Adobe is a known stock, very strong fundamental. Now is a known stock, very strong fundamental. As I mentioned, usually I am happy to have either undervaluation or high growth. I don't need both of them. But sometimes if you are faced with the dilemma that you want to buy only one, then you may look at both of them and you may look at them side by side. I looked at them side by side just now using technical charts. Why don't I look at them side by side using Q Vital? So I'm going to go to Q Vital, go to Home, and instead of using a root stock, I'm going to put their symbols Adobe and Now in the manual list. It's telling no root stock. That's right. There are two stocks I have put in. It has updated their vital statistics. I can go to the vital statistics tab, the stock vital statistics tab, and now I can look at them side by side. Now the choice is clearer, isn't it? Let me explain. I am looking at valuation and earnings growth. For short-term trading, I don't need to look at distant past. I am happy to look at the last quarterly earnings data, and there Adobe is stronger. Both are good, but Adobe has bright green color. I didn't even have to look at the number. Adobe has bright green and Now has dark green color. So as far as latest quarter earnings growth is concerned, Adobe is stronger. And when I look at the valuation, instantly again the coloring tells me that Adobe is stronger. It is undervalued and Now is medium valued. If I could buy both stocks, I in fact bought both of them, then both are okay. Q system and techniques allows that. But if I wanted to buy only one, now the choice is very clear to me. When I combine the fundamental with the technical, Adobe is a better choice. What will happen in future, I don't know. I wish I know, but I don't know. So Adobe is a better choice when I combine technical and fundamental together, and industry wise both were looking more or less equally strong. Let's check the industry again. The industry for now and industry for Adobe. System software and application software. Let's go to industry, refresh the data. In fact, I could come here and look up one of their industries by clicking the cog icon, that is system software, and then I could go to the drop down and choose application software from here and see them side by side. Application software is slightly better than system software. Let me go back to inside. Application software slightly better than system software. Therefore, that is also favoring the decision to buy Adobe over now. So we have reached our conclusion that if we had to buy only one stock today, then Adobe is the stock. And I explained in detail many steps, but you can see if I was not speaking, I could make the decision to buy Adobe in less than 10 minutes. And that is why I say that all you need is 30 minutes of a day to find a number of trades and look for a trade setup. In this case, I am not going to go to Q Finder anymore. But if I didn't find a trade from the Insight tab from Q Edge, would I come to Q Finder? No, not really. I will not come to Q Finder even then. What I will do, now Q Insight is available in Q Vital also. And remember this list of liquid stocks, this is different from the list in Q Edge. Q Edge has the S&P 1500 stocks, but there may be very nice fundamental stocks here. So what I'm going to do, if I didn't find any stock from Insight or Q Edge, I'm going to take this list, come to Q Vital, put them in manual list, and let Vital calculate the statistics for these stocks. It will take a few seconds. If I am running the webinar, it may take a little longer. I don't store any data on my computer, so it retrieved data about this more than 1000 stocks. Now I'm going to go to the Insight tab for Q Vital and carry out the exercise again. Click on the fully charged battery icon to look for the best performing undervalued stocks. I could look at them again using Q Elite or Q Global, and I would do the same exercise again for the best performing growth stocks. That is the exact sequence of steps that I carry out to make it very time efficient. And I tend to say you don't need so fast technique to find trades. You have time. The market is not going in rocket speed. It is going to go slowly. We still have 30 minutes before market close to find a trade. But I also say the speed is nice to have, even essential to eliminate jitters, eliminate noise. Just focus on what is required, and by that approach you would have found Adobe, now CPRI, and many more stocks, probably every day. There are enough stocks to be found every day, and spending little time using the unambiguous systems and techniques that we have in Q systems. I will mention one last thing before I end today. I used to, and I keep on sharing live trade ideas in my Saganandi's trade ideas category. And now I am very thankful to a gentleman. Let me see if he has shared his name. That gentleman is also sharing his analysis using Q systems. And I am sometimes commenting on the post that he is making. All we know, his name is Rick BW. I cannot share any detail about any trader, but I can see his name is Mr. Rick, And thank you, Mr. Rick, for sharing your analysis. It is going to be helpful not only to you, I believe, but to me also to remain disciplined and to any other trader who is looking at them. If you have any stock, I may look at them. If not, we have done our exercise, right? We have found our trades. I explained how to find trades using insight in QH first. If we didn't find any trade, I am going to go to QVital and find trades from inside of QVital. That step is similar to using QH. Let me now go to QFinder then. Remember, I am coming here only if the inside category didn't give me any trade. Here I have the stocks that went up most today and that gave me possible buying signal. Which ones I am going to look at first? I am going to look at those which are at the top of the list in terms of percentage and also give me a number of signals today. And if you look at the legend, today is colored in orange. So I find this stock, Meridian Bioscience. What are the signals here? Firstly, it tells me it is at price extreme, neither high nor low. It is in the middle. Price extreme high would be shown in green color, price extreme low, red color. It is yellow, therefore it is in price extreme middle. It has a gap up move today. It has a possible breakout long trade setup and it also has a possible go with flow long trade setup. If I set my technical trading system as Q global, then I can put my cursor anywhere on the row and click on the chart icon. It will open the stock using Q at a glance template and instantly we can see it has a gap up open. It has a breakout long trade setup because it broke out of the memory resistance and broke out of the triangle pattern, and it also has extremely high activity. In fact, it broke out of the weekly memory resistance also. There is another memory resistance in daily but some distance away. If somebody is fond of taking breakout trades, then this may be one setup, and somebody may say that they are seeing a cup and handle pattern if they want to see. Maybe there, maybe not there. Sometimes we see the pattern that we want to see, but certainly it gave me a breakout long trade setup and it also has a bullish flow. Will I prefer it compared to Adobe? No, personally I will not favor it in comparison to Adobe because there is a memory resistance nearby. Still it is some distance away, but again in comparison I would prefer Adobe today. But we found the stock using Q Finder. Now we saw technically it did give me a breakout trade setup. I will like to check its fundamentals. I can go to Q Vital by clicking the peer analysis icon. It's going to get me the fundamental and peer analysis of the stock. Let's give it a few seconds. It has retrieved some basic data about the stock. Earnings per share is positive, no dividend. Next earnings is 8th May and some description about the company. It retrieved the peer stocks in the healthcare supplies industry. Now it is retrieving data about these 64 peer stocks. Once retrieval is done, it is going to calculate the vital statistics. While it is doing that, I am going to click on the cog icon to check its industry strength. Healthcare supplies looking strong. I am going to check its percentage change strong enough, 4.2% today. So while it is calculating the vital statistics, I already checked its industry. I went back, go back to the vital tab, still retrieving data. Let us give it a few seconds. Updated the data. Now it is calculating the vital statistics, and instantly I see it is undervalued stock. Because it is undervalued stock, it is allowing me to buy. I don't need to have earnings per share growth. It is not usual to find undervalued stock with earnings per share growth, though sometimes it is possible, like Adobe, but not usual and not required. The moment I have one of the two factors, valuation is great, I am allowed to buy, and in this case it has a short squeeze potential also. One point to clarify is that short squeeze potential in itself is not a criteria that allows me to buy the stock. In Q technique, I must have either undervalued stock or high earnings growth in the latest quarter. Short squeeze is nice to have, but I'm not going to buy a stock just because it has short squeeze potential. The stock went up by 11.7%. So I may keep it in mind. Let me go through one or two more stocks from Q Finder. Meridian Bioscience I already looked at, so I'm going to delete it from the list. Now I see this stock also has several columns lit up in orange color. Let's look at them. This one, unlike the last stock, is actually at price extreme high. It went up with bullish pressure. It has a gap up move. It has a breakout setup and also a bullish flow candle. Even before I go to the chart, I know that this is at price extreme high. So this may be a breakout at price extreme high that IBD kind of traders would like, or those who like to buy at 52-week high, they may prefer to buy this stock. Let's look at its charts. Before I open the chart, I'm going to close the MetaStock chart. I could look at it using Q Elite also. Not diary, I go to Q Finder. If I look at Q Elite, then I can get the symbol from here, LLNW. I may go to Q Elite and LLNW is the ticker. This is a very strong stock, no doubt about it. LLNW, as my good friend Dr. Jeffrey says, it is very strong, at least in this period. Bottom left, what he says, lower left, upper right. I think it is looking quite strong. It is compressed a bit because of the other indicators, jump and thrust. It is very strong, and today it broke out with bullish pressure, extreme high activity, very bullish shape, bullish color candle in both weekly and daily. Not my kind of trade. I don't like to buy stocks that are at price extreme high, and this is the band indicator showing price extreme high not only daily but also in weekly. But the IBD traders may like to buy it, and if you are willing to call it a cup and handle, you may call it a cup and handle. If somebody is willing to buy, not my type of trade, but there are people using Q systems who are also following IBD, then my next step will be to carry out a fundamental analysis of the stock and check its industry also. The stock was Limelight Network. I'm going to check its fundamentals using Q Vital. It retrieved some basic data. It is retrieving the peers, but I'm not going to wait. I'm going to click on the cog icon to check its industry. Industry is strong instantly. How I have designed the Q systems, whether it is technical analysis, fundamental, or industry analysis, everything is visual. I don't read the numbers. I'm not looking at the numbers. And when I have very bright cyan color in industry tab, I'm not required to look at the industry percentage also. And I see today most of the industries went up. 127 industries went up. This is score 126. That is enough for me. And having a bold case is enough for me. Bold case means top 20% of all industries. So it is in the top 20%. That is good enough. But if you wanted to look at the industry percentage, no harm. This went up by 4.13 percentage today. So industry is strong. And while I am checking that out, I'm letting Q Vital do its work, and it is still doing some work. It's a little bit slower when I'm running the webinar. And here I see fundamentally I don't have a reason to buy in my technique. It's not undervalued, it is overvalued, and there is no EPS growth data in the last quarter. Earlier it is still negative. So this is not my kind of stock. As I mentioned, I am not fond of buying stocks that are at price extreme high. I carried through the steps for the sake of this webinar, but when I find a stock in QFinder that is at price extreme high, I'm going to delete it. I don't trade them. Not that they cannot be traded, but I don't trade them. The other way to use QFinder is, you see today lots of stocks in long category went up by large percentages. You may focus only those which went up by let's say greater than 5%. I'm left with these stocks, and then I can look at the stocks that gave me maximum number of signals. Any column can be sorted by double clicking on that. So I clicked on the total number of signals column, this orange color summation number, and I see Akebia therapeutic is one of them. What are the signals? Gap up move, breakout setup, possible pullback, and possible go with flow setup went up by 8%. And I am also checking for my style, it is not at price extreme high. So I am able to look at it. Let's look at it using Q Vital. Not Q Vital, Q Global first. Technical analysis first. I could do Q Vital also. Both of those links are in Q Finder. Let me carry out the Vital analysis also. And it is still opening the chart. AKBA. Sometimes Metastock slows down more, so AKBA. Let's see, TradeStation is faster or not. Yes, TradeStation is faster, and it indeed gave me a breakout trade setup. Cyan color candle. Weekly is also cyan. There is an upper tail, small but an upper tail. So if I see a stock like this, I'm not going to buy at market close, but I'm going to use the fine-tune chart tomorrow. That is the 5 or 10-minute interval real-time fine-tune chart, different template, and I will try to enter it tomorrow. If I'm trying it in the morning session, I will use the 5-minute interval. And suppose tomorrow price is moving same as today, then I will see the early range high and early range low lines drawn. The moment it breaks above early range high, I will buy here. For the day, I will put stop below early range low or days low. In this case, both are same, and I will continue to hold it through the day and overnight. That is the precision entry technique for swing trading. But looking at a glance chart, I will not buy it today. Also, for stocks that are breaking out, I prefer to have either bullish pressure or very or extreme high activity. That is, I need a dot on the green activity bar like it was here or here, but today there was no dot, so there was not heavier extreme high activity and there is no bullish pressure, so it is a breakout setup, but I'm not going to take it. Remember, for breakout, I didn't try to define a checklist because I found it very difficult to create a checklist that can be followed mechanically. Personally, I take breakouts for a stock in downtrend, like in this case. In this case, the stock was in a downtrend. If the stock is in a downtrend, I take breakouts only if there is high pressure or very high activity, which was not true. So I will skip it. I will go back to, because I'm going to skip it. I'm not interested to look at its fundamentals. If I'm not going to trade it, why bother? The next one, ZGNX. Okay, let me see if Metastock is faster this time. No. Okay. ZCNX. Sometimes when I'm running the webinar, Metastock may be a little bit slower, but it's quite fast in general. This one is looking better from the price pattern point of view. Weekly is bullish in biotech industry. The daily is breaking out. However, again, there is no bullish pressure or heavy activity. So I will not buy it today. However, the pattern is looking very appealing to me. I don't mind buying it tomorrow using the fine-tuned chart. And if I am going to consider buying it tomorrow, ZZNX, then I need to carry out a fundamental analysis and also check the industry. So I click the peer icon button from Q Finder that took me to Q Vital. It is retrieving basic data about the stock. And if it is taking a few seconds, I tend to say that is a good thing. That's a good thing. Too much time taking is not good thing because we want to find a trade and take the trade if there is a trade within 30 minutes. It is taking time. Let me check the industry in the meantime. I know it is in biotech, so I could go to sectors tab, start with healthcare. Though I may look at healthcare as a sector, that is not a requirement for buying. I just need the industries to be strong. Sometimes the sector may not be strong, but the industry is strong. So looking at sector is okay, but this is not required. And sometimes if you start top-down analysis from healthcare and don't buy unless healthcare sector is strong, you may miss many opportunities. I'm starting with healthcare simply to drill down, but I could start with industry itself. That is enough. And I see biotech. Biotech is strong enough today in cyan color. And if I go to industry percentage tab, it went up by big enough percentage, 3.6 percentage. So I am allowed to buy. Now, because it is a biotech, I think I will not care so much about fundamentals because biotechs can go up even if their fundamentals are not strong. Sometimes we may find a biotech with great fundamentals that is going up, and I shared one such trade in forum a couple of days ago or on my Twitter page. Let's search for biotech. Biotech, no, it's not. Okay, let me click the back button. Search again. Biotech. Still no. Surprise. This one. I shared it on April 13 yesterday. Biotech with earnings growth. Can they coexist? And I found BCLI. When I talk about earnings growth, I am talking about yearly earnings growth, compound aggregate growth rate, 3 year, 2 year, and 1 year. And this stock BCLI, a biotech, BCLI, very nice name, Brainstorm Cell Therapeutics, has excellent earnings growth and the short squeeze potential. And I shared it on Twitter. it was starting to crawl up very nicely from weekly memory trendline support and daily memory trendline support, and I did take a long position in the stock. That position is already in profit. So sometimes I find a biotech with great earnings growth or maybe undervaluation, but that is not required. Why I mentioned that? Because just now we found a biotech ZGNX that looks interesting to me from technical point of view. The industry itself is strong, so I may not require fundamental strength. No harm looking at it. It is still calculating. I think Metastock is Zenith is becoming slower as I'm running the webinar. But you can get the idea. If the fundamentals are good in this case, great, but if not good, that is also enough. That is the exact technique. Let me summarize again. Every day, if I am awake, I am in Thailand, opposite time zone to USA, but if I am awake, first thing I am doing, I am running Q Edge in streaming mode. Now streaming is off, but I have the play button clicked at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I have the latest data. I'm going to Insight tab first, checking on the undervalued stocks, copying them to Q Elite, going through the 10 stocks, takes me 20 seconds or so. If I find any stock from there, like CPRI today, I'm keeping it here and I'm deleting the rest of the stocks. Going back to Q Edge, checking the best performing growth stocks, again coming back to radar, putting the 10 stocks. If I find anything interesting like now and Adobe today, I am not taking note of them. Then I am going back to Q Edge, checking their industry strength by clicking the cog icon, and if it is strong, then I have found my trade. If I don't find any trade from Q Edge inside, I am going to Q Vital, carry out an insight calculation based on a different universe of stocks, also large number of stocks, more than 1000. That is my second step. If I don't find any trade in there, then only I am going to Q Finder, and the data for Q Finder was already available. And you can see I can find enough number of trades every day, and you can do the same in a disciplined way, systematic way, as well as unambiguous way. There is no hurry, there is no stress, there is no frustration. If there is no trade, I make myself a cup of tea and enjoy my TV show. Trading is not required to be stressful. We are at the 1 hour point. This is the time I like to go back to my colorful slide. Not that one. This one. Come on. Not that one. I have to go back to my favorite slide. Yes. Thank you very much for attending. Uh, you are the reason I make these YouTube live sessions, make my videos, and share my ideas in the forum almost every day. Thank you so much for attending. I look forward to seeing you in my next session. Have a great week. And as I say, trade profitably. There is absolutely no reason not to do so. Thank you again. Bye bye.